In this session about user interface development, we're going to talk about screens, one of the basic user interface building blocks in OutSystems. We will show you how screens can be created, their content and elements, and the variables and inputs they can have. Finally, we will talk a bit about client-side logic at the screen level. Before jumping right into definitions and all the details of screens, let's start with an overview. An app is composed of several screens. These are essentially different pages in the app, providing different functionality or data. These screens can be connected to each other, allowing end users to navigate throughout the app to perform their tasks. For instance, end users would start from the login screen. After logging in, they would see the list of employees. They can then add new employees. And after saving the new employee information, return back to the list screen. Editing information about an employee is also possible. Editing will update data stored in the database. In this diagram, we can see how end users can navigate between the existing screens of an app. So, what exactly is a screen? Well, a screen is one of the main user interface building blocks. Each screen is composed of several other elements, and these elements may include links, buttons, images, and tables, among other elements. The combination of all of these different elements within a screen enables developers to create rich interfaces. Screens can start from an empty canvas, and in this case it is up to the developer to add all the elements that match their needs. You can also create screens by using one of the templates available, allowing you to start with a pre-built screen and then customize it to your needs. Let's go into the details of a screen a bit more. We can see here that lots of different elements are present. These elements are actually called widgets in OutSystems. We have the screen title, which is simply text. Several buttons are also available. Each executes a different action. A table containing the list of products and the details across several columns. Checkboxes to select the products. An image for each product. And more text, with the details of each product. These text elements are actually expressions that allow you to display data from the database. As we can see, lots of different elements work together to create a rich user interface. Each one of these elements is a widget. These are just some examples of the several widgets that can be used in OutSystems. Another important and interesting aspect regarding widgets is responsiveness. The exact same screen will behave differently depending on the device with which users are accessing your app. For instance, if they are using a mobile phone with a smaller screen, then the exact same table is displayed in a different format. This happens automatically with the OutSystems widgets. As we mentioned earlier, end users navigate between screens, and in some situations you need to pass information between these screens. The data passed around will eventually influence what is displayed to the end user on a particular screen. For instance, in order to navigate from the list of products to the details of a specific product, we need to be able to uniquely identify the product whose details we want to see. This kind of information can be passed between screens via input parameters. Local variables may also be useful to temporarily store relevant contextual information. Note that, in either case, local variables exist only within the scope of each screen. So, when we transition or navigate to another screen, the target screen will not have access to the variables from the previous screen. These variables that are attached to the screen are limited to that scope. Now, we also saw that you could use buttons in a screen. Buttons and links can trigger the execution of some logic when activated. For instance, clicking the Save button would trigger the execution of a logic flow to update data in the database. These flows, or screen actions, are defined on a screen level, and their execution runs on the client side, which in turn may invoke other logic flows that execute on the server side. It is also interesting to know that elements inside the screen, or widgets, react automatically to changes in data. So, if the value of a variable is changed inside a logic flow, the user interface will automatically and immediately update to reflect those changes. We've seen that buttons can trigger the execution of an logic flow. However, links are actually very similar when compared to buttons, and both can trigger different kind of behaviors with the onClick property. From navigating to a screen within our app or an external URL, to executing an action flow and triggering an event. Actually, the main difference between both is how they are displayed at the interface level and interaction inside forms.